I spill something on the table, on the floor, on the carpet. It's okay. Like, life can happen here. Having that sense of community, I think that is the most beautiful and rebellious thing you can do, to kind of like ask for help.
Today's visit is in the studio and home of Jennifer Lipkin. And you're a Helsinki-based artist who I have seen paintings of. What else do you do?
Yeah, so foremost I paint with oil, and beside that I also do installations, foremost with wood and textile, and some sculpturing, and then some pieces that are also connected to set.
Interesting angle to take, the scent.
Yeah, I think it's such a like interesting gateway to approach how to create atmosphere, and also like a tool for like telling stories, and it also has a lot of semiotic values to it.
Before everything, like let's just talk about the space, because you know that's where we are here. And this is, how big is this? This is your room. You said that
this is like
actually
yeah. So this is my like studio room. So this is about like 22 square meters, and the other part is a bit bigger. And I also have a studio in Vaasa, so I'm both Vaasa and Helsinki based, but like I'm foremost Helsinki based, but I come from Vaasa, and then during pandemic we moved there with my partner, and then I got a bigger studio because it's more financially possible in small places. Yeah, so then we kept this place, and I transformed this room to my studio and workplace, and I meet customers here also and have meetings, and then yeah, but it's more tricky when we're both here.
And why did you decide to come back to Helsinki after the pandemic? Didn't want to stay in Vaasa?
I work here also, so I also teach art and architecture. So that's one of the reasons. And then I don't think I was totally, or I don't know if I'm yet totally ready with Helsinki. So it's really nice to have this different set of vibes that I create in here, and then a different set of vibes that I create in Vaasa. And it's interesting because I like most of my work is linked to place. So I think that is kind of unconsciously also seen in the places I create.
This is it. It is indeed interesting, because I think you're the first one who has like 2 studio spaces. So I'd be curious to know how this
Works.
No, how it works, I can imagine how it works, driving around a lot. But also how each space differently affects your work.
Yeah, well, I think the spaces and the places suit me for different moods. Like this place is just amazing when I'm super tired and like I feel super energized by the sea, and just like I go for a walk in the morning and then I come back, and I don't have to kind of go far away to a studio place. It's very like minimum effort. I can just like roll out of my bed to make a cup of coffee, and then I have my station going on. And also I think it's just one of the most amazing moments is when you've done work really late, and then you forget about it when you go to sleep, and then you wake up in the morning and then you see what you've done. It's kind of like a Christmas present, or maybe a bad Christmas present if it didn't go so well. But I love that kind of, oh, this is what I made. Actually, Henry Miller wrote a book about it, just that moment. Yeah, anyways. But then in Vaasa, it's more like structural. It's more like going to the office. So I have a bigger place where I can be a bit more messy. And also there's like other artists and like creative people who have studios on the same floor. So it's more like going for a walk or by bicycle, and then going to like creation mode.
Where do you work more? Have you noticed? Do you spend more time here working or in Vaasa? Or?
It depends. Like doing bigger pieces, I do it in Vaasa because it's not possible here. or like it is, but then it gets too like messy. You can see on the carpet and like these accidents. And I don't feel like totally free, like because yeah, there's more sensitive materials and so on. So I work in a smaller scale here, and this is the perfect place for sketching. And like I feel super comfortable, and it's like a warm cocoon, and I feel like I'm myself. And then in the bigger studio, I guess maybe more into a mission mode. So like then doing the bigger pieces, or like doing with wood, or like with textile, and yeah.
And here you also paint with oils in the.
Yeah, but I do like just small scales, and I don't do it when my partner is here. Because I have already destroyed my. I'm already used to
poison myself. It's okay.
I'm used to, but I prefer not to do it here. But I like I do a lot of like gessoing and these kind of prepping stages here, and then sketching, and then but some oil paintings, yeah. When there's a deadline, I definitely do oil paintings here. Yeah.
What is it you like about this space? You said already that it's so easy to just roll out of bed.
Yeah.
Is that the best thing about it?
No, I think this is like a good vibe in here, and we've been here. I studied in Paris, and when we came back, we came to this place, and my friends used to live here, so there's just like really good memories in this place, and I have like good energy. And like I've done my own like choreography, like where I keep my utensils and everything, and it's just like, yeah. And I think it's like still quite beautiful in one way, but it's not like perfect. It's a bit rustic, so I don't mind if I spill something on the table, on the floor, on the carpet. It's okay. Like life can happen here.
I feel like the studio space is always a bit rustic.
Yeah.
If not a lot. That's the goal of it usually.
Yeah.
You mentioned you studied in Paris. It's maybe good to go back and just trace how your path went then.
Yeah. So
did you decide to become an artist already when you were a kid? And how?
Well, I always like drew a lot. Like I was a very creative child, like I think most artists are. So I danced ballet for like 17 years, and then I painted and drew simultaneously, and had different, like I made museums in our backyard. So I had the urge to kind of create something. And then also kind of decorating in these. I always like made my mom's and dad's bed again, because I thought they made it like in an ugly way. So I was redid it when guests came. I was like 10 or something.
Very important details.
Yeah. So maybe like having an eye for detail and that kind of stuff in an early age. But yeah, like I actually started at Aalto. So I studied interior architecture. And I was, when I applied also to architecture, and then to Sweden to architecture. And then I got into all. I had applied for like 2 or 3 years. And then I was like, what do I want to do? Do I want to be like in big scale or small scale? And then I was super young still at that point, but maybe some sort of maturity had evolved to that stage that I could sense that I'm more into materials and atmosphere and these kind of things. And I was really lucky because this was the old good days of Aalto, when we had a lot of arts. So 1/3 of my studies was like just arts. So
when did you study there?
2013.
Oh, I started 2014.
Okay, so what department did you go to?
I was in the media lab.
Okay, but I think because it's very different from the lines. So
I mean, it is the School of Art, and
yeah, but they like the programming. So some of the line. Do you say lines? Like what do you call it? Like the different subjects have more art and some have less. So we had a lot of art and color studies. And we had one course, for instance, when our teacher, she like had a boat and she took us to her island each morning with 2 big Afghan dogs, and then we just were the island and made installations. So it was really,
I didn't even know there was an interior architecture as a program.
yeah.
I think we were with the architects in the same building.
Yeah.
Even.
Yeah.
It was for some reason like very separated.
Yeah.
On different floors, but
it was very separated. Yeah, and I think they, like nowadays, they're trying to kind of change that up. But yeah, we were like really a tight group, and but I wasn't sure, so like if that is what I want to do. So then I applied to Paris to study architecture, and at that point I took as my side subject a contemporary art, and I had the amazing professors who were really demanding, and one like who was like an architecture and art theorist, and I thought I had good English, but according to him, no.
Seriously, you have amazing English.
but I learned so much. And also like this interdisciplinary thinking, kind of. I think that was like a 2016, and I think that was also a stage, just generally, that it was talked about in design and art and architecture, like how to like kind of shift the boundaries, like what is called what, and who is allowed to do what, and so on. And so it was a really exciting time to study that, because I felt like something is about to happen.
And was this like a bachelor or a master's degree?
Master's, yeah. And so and also like living there was really inspirational with this interdisciplinary.
I mean, people do tend to say that about Paris.
Yeah. So I think that one of, if one would ask what has been like a changing time, I think that was, and also being that age, like you're not in your early 20s, but you're not like fully grown up, so you have this sincerity and innocence in one way that you can kind of just try again and so on.
And then from interior architecture to purely art, how does a person do that jump?
Well, I think interior architecture is a tricky word, because we get these assumptions what it is. People think about like this very traditional way of making space, but I like all the courses I took was more like installation based at my master's. So I had maybe one like traditional interior architecture course. Everything else was just like art focused. And I did my my thesis on the cross-modal relationship between smell, a scent, and then color, and did an installation on that for an exhibition. So like I think since Paris, that's why I've been kind of emphasizing that. Since then, like my relationship to space was just purely like art based, or like purely in that realm, not in like a traditional way of creating space. So I never really actually worked as an interior architect.
Okay. There are some people that I've spoken with that come from other backgrounds, not like purely art academy type of background, and it's always interesting for me to speak with them, because it's like it's an extra effort, it feels, that the person does to commit themselves to art in the end.
Yeah, and I think there's also like a different burden to it, kind of. I don't know what they said, but like being accepted in the art world and all of that kind of. But I think for me it helped that I had some traditional like art studies and technical studies, that like I had that to kind of fall back on. So it wasn't just like, oh, I want to be an artist, like that kind of stuff. Yeah.
I mean, in the art world, even like artists who have done that all their life, not always are accepted.
Yeah.
That is a bit subjective there. It's not, really the main thing. What are you doing now?
What am I doing now? Well, I'm working on an exhibition that's going to be in a museum in Vasa this summer, and then I'm teaching. So
when is the exhibition going to be? If somebody would want to.
in June.
Okay.
In June, yeah, hopefully.
Hopefully it will be there in June. It feels like.
Yeah.
But this is coming before June, so somebody might watch it and be interested to see it there.
Yeah.
In the museum in Vasa.
Yeah.
Art museum. How is it called?
The name of this museum is it's on the countryside, so it's not in the like downtown Vasa. It's called Stunder's Museum, and it's this very like unorthodox museum. It's like they have this outside, like how you used to live before and this kind of stuff. But then they started recently to kind of combine like contemporary art into that scene. So like there's going to be another like ceramics artist, and then they also have each like year these resident people that come there for residence, and they do some installation work. So it's really, I love this combination of having an unorthodox exhibition environment, and then you create like contemporary art and that kind of dialogue.
So yeah, it makes it more interesting also for you to create something for that kind of.
Yeah. And I also think that I always think about, maybe that's like the space background still kind of is there, that I always think about like the space that I'm creating too. And I want, of course, the art to kind of stand on its own, like in a different context also, but I'm really interested like how the surroundings affect how we perceive the art.
Yeah, and also because you can't really fully see that before you take your work there to install it, right?
Yeah.
It'll be a nice surprise also for you, for yourself.
Yeah, and sometimes I think I know what it's going to be like, and I go to the space and I think about like the qualities of the space, but then it's always different when you are there with the art.
So this is maybe also a good place to tell me what are the themes in your work. Apart from space, you mentioned something about semiotics.
Yeah, well, I think that is something that is it's there, but I think like foremost it's like place, identity, and having this sensory approach is very I think that is the thing that you can see in all of my exhibitions. So for instance, this coming exhibition is like a second part of like it's like a trilogy, and it's about my Karelian roots. And I have Karelian roots from my father's side, and I never considered myself as a like Karelian at all. Like I'm a Swedish speaking Finn, and my grandma from my mother's side was Danish, so I have like a totally different identity. But then my name that I carry is Jennifer Lipkin. Yeah. So like I've read a lot of theory about like how you can kind of carry a place in your DNA that you've never even been to. So I'm really interested in that thought. And also like how we create relationships to places we've never been to through stories and pictures. And like this small village called Vuokiniemi, where I'm from, is I've seen it in pictures, I've heard stories, and it has almost become like this mythical place. Well, I think like people live in a very ancient way even, and like it's not that, but it's like the stories you heard as a kid, and then you kind of create this landscape and this atmosphere. So kind of I'm interested in place, like the physical place that is now, that is measurable, but then also like the emotional place, or like the subjectivity of that. So there's like a guy called Yifit Tuan. I'm not pronouncing his name properly, but
I
like
wouldn't know.
he has this book called I think it's called like Space and Experience, or Place, Space, the Experience of Space, or something like that. It's written in like in the 70s, but I think it's very current still. And he talks a lot about like the different levels of place, and then also like the place we carry also in our imagination and in memories and so on. Yeah.
Have you gone to that place to paint there?
No, I haven't. It's on the Russian side nowadays.
Oh.
So it's not that easy. And I also think that it's not even interesting for me to do that. I'm more interested in
your memory of it.
Yeah, or like my perception of what it might be and the different layers of that atmosphere. And it's like I think some immigrants might like they've heard stories about like where their parents came from and so on, and then when they go there have the opportunity, it's not the same place they imagined. So sometimes it's like I think both can simultaneously exist, like the physical that is and where the change happens, and then the eternal that is in your like imagination. And in that sense, I think scent is very interesting. That like I'm gonna have this like these scent boxes. We'll try to name them better for the exhibition.
Not to be confused with sandbox.
No, not a sandbox, but scent box. And I like how like scent is this carrier of memory. So how you can kind of use that as part of the narrative, and also like how the perception of the paintings changes when you have an others like a sensory
input.
Yeah.
When I was going through your works on your website, and you were talking there about color semiotics as well. And
yeah.
What kind of meanings you put in the colors? Because you have a very distinct colors. You don't go all around the rainbow in your work?
No, I think it changes. Like I think for me art, like making art is kind of like a diary of what stage I'm at in my life. And that's just a way of me like to be and to create and like speaking my truth at that moment, so to say. So like when I started in Paris, like I was super interested in color semiotics and feminism. So I started to use a lot of pink as like this, but it was at that period when we talked about millennial pink. So it was, I don't know if you heard about
millennial pink.
So it's like a certain shade of pink, and it was this symbolism of intersexual feminism, where like it's not anymore just like considered as a female color, but like as like just a big vacuum, or like for everything that is different. And also there was a color that people started using spaces, and it became kind of trendy, and it was a lot of theories. Is a Swedish art theorist called van Björnsson, maybe, who wrote about it. I was interested in that, and but that was just like, I think, a gateway for me to read about like color semiotics and like color and culture, and also of course my thesis was based on color theory, so I read a lot about semiotics and color at that point. But I think for me now it's more about like I have the subject that I'm studying, and then I pick up things and kind of compare it to like the knowledge I have of semiotics, and then at some point I let my subconscious to kind of do the work. So I'm not like as religious to kind of, or like maybe even is this a bit of naivety, like, to it when okay, this means this. So I'm not interested maybe in that per se. Yeah. Yeah.
I did Google now millennial pink, and
Yeah.
it looks like baby pink a little bit.
Yeah, it looks like baby pink. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I had a really bad relationship to that color. Like it was really like I hated it because, like when for me it was really like a color that was super loaded. That I didn't want people to consider me like this blonde, stupid like with the pink. So I always like try to not to wear that, and I didn't like it at all. And I think it's interesting that it's just a color, but what emotions it evokes and what feelings, and like everybody gets like when you see that, oh, okay, or okay, or then this power or whatever. So for me it was even a healing process to kind of just reconnect with it's all right, it's just a color, and yeah.
I guess, I mean, you just go different ways in your thoughts, and you end up in different rabbit holes.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, and I think that was just like at a really early stage. I was still studying at the moment, and I was studying like color theory. So it was yeah.
So what colors are you using now? Like
what colors?
What or maybe more like what's the reason behind the colors you're using now?
So I'm using a lot of different reds and colors that have intuitively spoken to me, like I really feel drawn to that, simple as that. But also like linking to my last exhibition, that are the colors that are seen a lot in Karelian traditions, in the way they paint houses, and like the colors you get from the earth, and these kind of things. So I think it has a link to that. But of course, like some quite literal semiotics can also be found there.
So you're not paying attention to the Pantone color of the year trends that come and go?
No.
No, this is more of a joke.
I did actually. Has this been a Pantone color of the year? The red, or like this burgundy red? Or?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I don't quite remember how they go. I just know this year it's a sort of brownish.
Oh, all right.
Something.
Okay.
There is maybe a little bit of that in that painting we're watching.
Okay.
It's interesting. Like when you start to think about a certain color, then you start looking and finding it.
Yeah, that is true.
Everywhere.
That is true. Yeah.
You said you're also a teacher. Is that how you sustain your practice?
Like both. I teach like twice a week, sometimes a bit more, sometimes less. It depends on like how much funding do I get. And I've also been working commercially. So I had, I say that in a bad voice, commercially.
What does that even mean?
Yeah. But like with commercial clients. So I combine. But the dream, of course, would be to kind of find the balance between having my own practice. But I think I'm always going to teach because I really enjoy that.
Where do you teach?
At Hale Educational College. So it's like a paid college. So, and I think being an artist, you're quite a lot on your own. And having that place where you feel like it's not about you and what you create, but it's about understanding other people's processes that are like they're so fresh and new, and everything is exciting. And
yeah, so I think that the teaching there is always this also benefit for the teacher, that you get constantly refreshed by the new ideas from your students and such.
Yeah.
I've been told.
Yeah, definitely, and you get to have that dialogue, and I think I need that to feel purpose. So I think it's a big part of my practice. Yeah.
And then you say you work with commercial. I know, how did you say?
Clients.
Clients, yes.
Yeah.
How did you start doing that? Because I think I had also one other guest of the podcast who was interested in that kind of a process.
Yeah.
But I don't think artists generally have a lot of experience working in that way.
Well, it's, I don't know if I would call it luck, but it's maybe being at the right place and at the right time. And also like I was quite active when I studied. For instance, I was at a course that Iittala funded, and then they liked what I did. So then I went to them to do some material like design, art stuff, and like these kind of gateways where like I present something somewhere and then somebody likes it, or then somebody, oh, you maybe know Jennifer, like she does this, and then it kind of, that's the way it's always been for me. Just haven't had any system to it. And what I'm interested about now is maybe like kind of how to be more like have more discernment in what I choose to do, so I don't have to say yes to everything, and like what is the direction I want to go. But maybe like having a background in architecture and space, it's like a beneficial thing for me, so that I understand the whole process of how to create your space and all the different components, and I understand like these long processes and these kind of things. But basically, it's, I would say it's customer work. So it's being having.
They have some idea that
They have, yeah. And usually people are like open-minded, but it's still something that they want. So I'd say it's more like crafts than like maybe art. But it depends on how you want to see it. But yeah, so it's different things I emphasize on. But I would say like my own practice that I do for like galleries or museums and these kind of contexts is maybe more my authentic aesthetics.
Of course, yes, because there you have all the freedom and you can do the decision making.
Yeah.
You said you work with galleries and museums. Are you represented by any gallery?
No, not at the moment. Yeah.
I think this is something, I mean, Helsinki has very few of these kinds of galleries.
Yeah.
Generally.
Yeah.
So
and thanks, I think there's like good size and bad size of being represented depending on the contracts. So like at the moment, I'm quite happy not having a contract to kind of, I still want to have that certain freedom. Yeah.
You think they would limit you if you, I mean, yes, of course.
There's like, yeah. And
they would expect maybe that you would, not you, like a person would do kind of a similar type of work the whole time.
Yeah, and then also like it depends on the contracts, of course, but like how many exhibitions are you allowed to make and to whom and like these.
Really? They're so protective.
It depends. Like I'm not talking about any particular, but I have friends who had that kind of not a good gallery contract. So, but I think in Finland it's better. It's better. Yeah.
I haven't asked that question to people generally. Now I'm thinking that it's good to maybe open up and talk about that.
Yeah, and I think in most galleries have, like, if you had an exhibition, like anything you sell after that is like for 3 or 4 months. Some have half a year, like goes to the gallery, even though it wouldn't be through the gallery.
Yes, that's I have seen that.
That is very commonplace. Yeah. And of course, understand that the galleries need to put bread on a table, but it's always I think the artist is in such a vulnerable position.
For sure.
And yeah, and like having 30% or 50% commission is a lot of money.
It is.
Yeah.
And then on the other hand, the rest of the galleries that are not this kind of more like a sales oriented.
Yeah.
You have to pay rent to them, and it's really high rents usually.
Yeah.
So that's another side of like not a good deal for the artist generally.
Yeah. I decided that I wouldn't exhibit if I don't get a grant for the like the rents and some materials, because I don't want to have that financial stress in creating. That doesn't, like, I can see those exhibitions when I've been stressing, and it's not the best work.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, especially if you also have on top of that, you have the stress to create the work for the exhibition in the same time.
Yeah.
I usually ask people about the role of the community for them. And you work here in Vasa. You said that there are the artists there around.
Yeah.
You have that community there.
Definitely. And I actually, I think people can relate to that feeling if you come from a smallest place or city, when you move away, like when you're young, like, I want to go there again and la la. But it's been really nice to reconnect. And I think Vasa is very interesting at the moment, that there's happening a lot in the contemporary art scene. There's like these communities, like for instance one called Platform, who has it's a residency program, but they arrange different cultural gatherings and exhibitions and stuff, and they have like this cultural soup that is once a month when they can go for soup and beer for free, and then the artist has like a presentation, and it's really super nice. And I think being in a small place, people are because there's less people of course, so you have to kind of breathe into the same direction, which is really nice. Yeah.
Do you have any connection to the Helsinki, some community in Helsinki?
Yeah,
I'm sure there are many.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I would say it's broader here because I've been living here for a longer time, like in my adult age, even though I'm from Vasa. And I think also that the Helsinki art scene is very interesting at the moment. I think like there's a shift happening, especially in the painting scene. I think there's been really very interesting work from a lot of artists who paint with oil recently.
Really? I don't have that much of a connection to the painting scene because I don't paint myself at all.
Oh, right. Okay.
But yeah, it is always like interesting to get to know how things work.
Yeah. And a lot of people say that compared to other like bigger cities, even like Helsinki has a really like fair amount of.
There's a lot of painters.
Yeah, a lot of painters.
So.
Yeah.
Do you involve somehow friends or family in your work? Do you have collaborations or something like that?
Well, I have collaborations with friends. I love creating together. But at this point, it's maybe more like talking about art and that kind of stuff. And then I've planned, we've been searching for funding and these kind of things to a couple of projects that might happen next year, but let's see. But I love to both work myself and then work collectively if you are with people that authentically resonate with you and you can kind of trust, because I think everybody has had that opportunity when it's been more ego-based than more like, let's create something together and come from a more like even pure place, so to say. And then my family, especially my dad, has helped me a lot. God bless them.
I can resonate with that.
So, but I love that, actually. I love that, and especially in like these days where we're so isolated and like just on our phones and ourselves, like having that sense of community, I think that is the most beautiful and rebellious thing you can do, to kind of like ask for help and receive that help. I think that is just a really beautiful act.
I think maybe especially in Finland that applies.
Yeah.
Because in Bulgaria, it's very natural that you would ask for help.
True.
And give the help to others.
Right.
It's only here that the sisu is preventing you from asking for help.
Yeah, that is a good point.
I mean, that's just my theory. I haven't read about it. That's from observations. Yeah, definitely sometimes this like just pure physical help for carrying the stuff is good to have.
Yeah. And my mom, she is really good with language. She's a teacher. She's retired now, but she always read through my applications. So.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, and also I think they're not in the art scene. I have then artists like one generations like from my father's side, and my mom's dad, my grandfather, he drew houses and so there's like that vibe. But my parents are quite conventional like teacher, engineer. But they have this openness. So I love also, I have to explain like the themes so that my mom understands it. So I think that is a really good audience, because I don't want it to be unapproachable. And I think sometimes artists, we over intellectualize things. I think there's a place for everything, and myself coming from a more theoretical background, I tend to kind of be up in my head. So it's really nice to have somebody that is your mirror to kind of how to find the essence of what I'm trying to say. And like, okay, if she understands it, then probably somebody else also.
Yes, and then somebody to just ground you and like, okay, this is not what other people generally think.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good that you're making that effort to because I'm not doing that effort. For example, my parents are also not artists, engineer, pharmacist. But I just decided that, okay, you don't understand what I'm doing. It's okay. Never mind. I'll just do it.
Yeah. And I think that's totally fun also. I think just we're different and we want to kind of, it depends on what you want to emphasize on.
Yeah. So do you, when you have an exhibition, do you emphasize on the story behind your paintings?
Yeah, I think so. I think I always have a subject that I am studying, and I think we're just integrally bound to what we study. Like, I think that is a relationship already, and that is just me and that subject that has that relationship. So I try to kind of open up that to the audience, and sometimes it's just a few sentences, and in some contexts it might be okay to have a longer version, and usually there's a longer version that is printed than the shorter one. But I love also that, to kind of how to transmute and find the essence, so it's approachable. And then when I'm creating, like, I don't always like, oh, now I'm creating this and this and this symbolizes this and that. It's more about like me reading, me sketching, me going back to what I'm reading, sketching again, starting to create. Maybe it doesn't resonate, so I go back to reading, and then at some point I try to let go that when I'm creating, when I'm in my flow, it's just intuition and not like being in my head, not intellectualizing that. So I intellectualize in the beginning and in the end, but try not to do it in the middle.
That is really good that you say, because I was exactly going to ask you about your process. So you just answered it before me asking anyway. For my process, I would say that I probably just touch a topic in the beginning, and then it's the intuitive part. And then I think I conceptualize it more in the end and see where it has taken me, more or less. But yeah, it's another way to just think about it more in the beginning.
I don't know if you heard about this very talked about book. Is it called The Act of Creating, or The Creative Act? Rick Rubin, this one.
I think somebody might have recommended it.
Yeah.
Podcast before.
Yeah, but it's this kind of, you can take what resonates, leave what doesn't, type of book. But it has really interesting thoughts also if you're open to it. So it's he mentions that there's like two types of creators. There's the finisher and then there's the explorer. So the finisher is like somebody who has a vision of what you want to create, and you try everything to kind of get there. So that is me in one way. Like, I study, I intellectualize, and then I try that in the middle to kind of intuitively get there. But when I'm back, I want to be where. So I try to kind of, it's like a horseshoe. Yeah. And then there's the explorer, who maybe has a starting point, but you can be in a different country at the end of the the exploration. And the explorer has trouble finishing, and then the finisher has trouble making enough space and time to explore. And I think that is something I want to prioritize more. But it's difficult, like teaching and having other client work and so I'll try like this few months like before my exhibition, like June and May, to just kind of not have anything else on my table to be able to do that.
Yeah, it's a juggling act for sure.
Yeah.
Everything around an artist, you have to do many things. I think I'm still to me the person who completely does only one thing all the time for years and years. I think. Yeah, but also this like different gigs or different projects. Right. I think that they also enrich you in some way because they give you another viewpoint. So it's definitely not a bad thing. I guess it might be feeling like a bad thing when you should be focusing on one and don't have time for it. What is the role of the social media for you?
The role of social media?
Maybe not just social media, but like just your online presence in general.
I think it's very like spontaneous for me. I don't plan it. It's just like, oh, I had this thought at the studio today. I want to share this. So like, I took this picture of this moment. I want to share that. Kind of very sincere and maybe a bit naive even. I don't think about that other people are seeing this. Then I forget.
Then they send you messages, hey, what was that?
Yeah. But I think for me the best part, if you want to like put a positive vibe on the subject, because it's been maybe more in a negative light with all of this political stuff regarding Trump and this mega companies, Facebook and Meta and so on. But by like connecting with other artists, I think that is the most beautiful part of it. That would not be possible without it. Yeah. And also like for me, like being inspired, it's always tricky when people ask, oh, who inspires you? I don't think I get like visually like, oh, I want to do that, but it's more about like seeing somebody else following their path or their like exploration, their truth, their like way of doing is really inspirational. And that kind of reminds, oh yeah, this is so like, wow, well, what a gift, what an opportunity to be able to create. And
this is partly why I'm doing this filming and sharing it afterwards, so that people can come across it and be like, oh, this is, one way to live.
Yeah.
And I like this way to live.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. 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 And sometimes it's like it creates this desire, like, oh, I want that too. And that is also like I don't see it as being envious. It's just more about like, oh, okay, this is maybe something I want also to experience, and what kind of steps should I do to go to that directions. Or then it can also just be watching the beautiful flowers, like, oh, beautiful flowers, but I will not pick them. They're not for me.
So you watch flowers online?
No, it was a metaphor.
No.
Oh, you was joking. Okay.
No, I mean, people do it. I mean, use it differently and with different purposes. And
yeah.
That's why I'm asking usually, because some people completely rely on it for their marketing their work and such. Other people just enjoy seeing what comes to their feed or something.
Yeah.
Some people just share details of the process of their work.
Yeah. Like I think I had a more tricky relationship towards social media when I was there more with my like personal life, but then I just switched it like for a smaller group, like for personal life stuff, and that kind of helped me so I don't overthink, and I can kind of choose my own audience and to whom I want to share what.
Do you go to exhibitions?
Yes.
Do you go to openings, or you prefer to go to see it later?
Both. Usually, if it's a really good exhibition, I usually go both to the opening and then I go to kind of perceive it later on, because it's hard to perceive. But I think that is like those exhibition openings, that is going to the office, that is like meeting your colleagues and talking about like different projects. And
going to the office is interesting way to put it.
Yeah. I have a friend who's a photographer, and he put it like in that way because he was going to a lot of like different parties, and I'm like, oh, I like how do you manage, you know, with, and I was like, well, he's going to the office, like, you know, talk to people and mingle, and people like remember you, like, oh, maybe you could, like, it's, and I think you can kind of sense when it's people that are doing it for like the sake of getting new connect, when it's not like in an authentic open way, when it's like, what can I gain out of that, and that is kind of off-putting, I think.
For sure.
But then like when it's about connecting and being interested in what's going on, be interested in your field, basically. And I think that is also a thing I'm saying to my students, probably to a point that they're really annoyed with me, but like, why are you doing it? Like, why are you doing what you're doing? Are you really interested in art, or like really interested in architecture? Like, immerse yourself with it. Immerse yourself with what you're interested in. So for me, it's a way, like, I don't go to every exhibition. Of course, life happens and you're sometimes tired, and it's really interesting to kind of be in the right also energy, like, and so on. But if I have the time, like, I always feel more energized and uplifted and inspired after talking to people who are feeling the same about art.
Yeah. Where would you usually go when you go?
So I usually go to like the smaller exhibition spaces. I think Galleria Loisti has really interesting stuff. Then Anhava, then also like this contemporary Forsblom, like the classical, is always like the Thursday when you go from one space to another in the same area.
Why do they only have 2 hours of openings?
Yeah, that is.
You spend it just walking from one place to the other.
Yeah.
I don't know why they decided that 2 hours is enough when it's really not.
They make you pick.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
What artists have made an impression on you, and or who are you looking at their work at the moment? Because of course that changes with time, but
yeah, I think it's that's a tricky question, because like I said, because I feel when I mention, like, people are then trying to like, oh, do they see that in my art or something? So but
no, but it doesn't have to be something that you literally take into your art. It
well, let's
got
say
you inspired, or something completely different.
Yeah, well, I love to read about like different art processes, which I also love this podcast. Like, I listen to all of them because it's just so inspiring to hear like how people create. For instance, now I'm reading of like these letters of David Hockney, just amazing stream of thoughts and like how he creates and so on. So that's been really inspiring. This is also a very interesting book about taste. I'm really interested in the subject of taste, also what is considered good art or good space and how that is kind of changing. This one I've been just reading again. He was a photographer, but it's about like space and visuality, but from a perspective of taking photos, but I think it's very much can implement it to art also. And then if I go back to like an artist who has affected me a lot, not visually, but in the way she created, was she's called Sanya Dulani. I think that is how that name is pronounced. But she was like a part of the Orphism movement in the 20s. She was an Ukrainian, but based in Paris. And she did everything. She did like art, abstracts, and then she did like beautiful color-based portraits and also landscapes, but they were really like not that geometric as futuristic, how the futuristic movement was, but has this more color-based, minimalistic approach. And she did textile, she did installation, she did scenography, she did spaces, furniture, she did everything. And like being my mid-20s, I'm like, oh, you can do all of that. And she did that as a woman in the 20s, which was just amazing.
That must have taken a lot of energy.
Yeah.
Just to justify that why you're doing this thing as a woman.
Yeah. So like, she was then a big inspiration, just like to allow myself to be like, I can do different things and be kind of accepted, even though I'm not just doing one thing. But then, like, if I'm going back to your question, I'm thinking of like, who do I think are doing really inspirational thing at the moment? And I want to mention something from, I was thinking of like big names, but like, or like big names, but not like, this world scale.
Mention any name you like.
Yeah, but I really like Nina Villaneuvo's. She does these amazing oil paintings. I love how she moves like between abstracts and something like you can see nature. Like nature is like there, and this almost esoteric kind of presence, but like the visuality of it speaks to me. And then Kerttu Saali, who had at Forsblom just like maybe a couple of months ago. Yeah, I like also Julania Hyrris paintings really much. So there's like this, I think there's like this new female painter group emerging, which is really beautiful and inspiring to witness.
Thank you. I will check, because I do not know these artists.
Yeah,
honestly, but I will check them.
Send them to you. Yeah.
If I cannot get how the name is written from how you said it, I will definitely ask about it.
Yeah.
Because on the website of the podcast there is the page where I put all the names that people said, so you can also check what other people recommended.
Right. Oh, that's nice.
That's the point of that question.
Okay, I see. I see.
I'm just creating a list.
Right.
Are there some other places of inspiration for you? Or spaces, should I say, maybe spaces.
Well, I think I just, my problem is that I get too inspired everywhere. And I kind of try to pick one thing, pick one flower, not all the flowers, to kind of, what do I want to be in community with? What do I want to spend time with? And what is just something I perceive at that moment? But I feel life really, like, I don't know, since I was a kid, I just feel everything quite strongly. And yeah, but of course, like traveling, like being in places that there's like a lot of history present is very inspiring. And like I'd like to say that nature would inspire me, but I think for me it's a place where I relax and process things, and not so much that the nature in itself inspire me per se.
Which is totally fine.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Let's talk, and good luck with the exhibition.
Thank you.
So, June Vasa.
Welcome.